While the US and USSR vied for space exploration supremacy during the space race, a different, less publicized race took place between the two nations' greatest drillers. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, Americans and Soviets began planning separate efforts to drill as deep as possible into the Earth's crust, the rocky shell that comprises the outer 30 to 50 kilometers of the 6,730 kilometers distance to our planet's core. The American Project Mohall, stationed off the Pacific coast of Mexico, was cut short in 1966 due to lack of funding, but set an important precedent for future offshore drilling programs. The Soviets, thanks to the planning of the Interdepartmental Scientific Council for the Study of the Earth's Interior and superdeep drilling, had greater success. From 1970 to 1994, their drill on the Kola Peninsula chipped slowly away to create an earth-shattering record at the time, the deepest hole in the world. In actuality, the Kola superdeep borehole consists of several holes branching from one central hole. The deepest of these, named SG3, measures just 9 inches in diameter but extends 12,261 meters, or 7.5 miles, into the Earth. That's roughly a third of the way through the Baltic continental crust. To meet scientific objectives and provide a nearly continuous look at the crust's profile, the Soviets even developed instruments to take direct physical measurements at the bottom of the borehole. The drilling apparatus thus allowed for greater measurement integrity, since rock samples would deform under their incredible internal pressure when brought to the surface. Needless to say, the project produced enormous amounts of geological data, most of which elucidated how little we know about our planet. The study of the Earth is often largely limited to surface observations and seismic studies, but the Kola borehole allowed a direct look at the structure of the crust and put geologists' theories to the test. One of the most surprising findings was the absence of the transition from granite to basalt, which scientists had long expected to exist between 3 and 6 kilometers below the surface. Known to geologists as the Conrad discontinuity, this transition in rock type was reasoned to exist due to the results of seismic reflection surveys. Though the discontinuity has been detected beneath all of the continents, the drill at Kola never encountered the proposed layer of basalt. Instead, the granitic rock was found to extend beyond the 12-kilometer point. This led to scientists' realization that the seismic reflection results were due to a metamorphic change in the rock, i.e. from intense heat and pressure, and not a change in rock type as they had previously anticipated. And if the non-existence of an entire layer of the Earth's crust is not surprising enough, the cracks of the rock many kilometers below the surface were found to be saturated with water. As free water is not supposed to exist at such great depths, researchers believe the water consists of hydrogen and oxygen atoms that have been squeezed out of the surrounding rock by the enormous pressure and retained below the surface due to a layer of impermeable rock above. But the most intriguing discovery made by the Kola borehole researchers is undoubtedly the detection of biological activity in rocks more than 2 billion years old. The clearest evidence of life came in the form of microscopic fossils, the preserved remains of 24 species of single-cell marine plants, otherwise known as plankton. Usually fossils can be found in limestone and silica deposits, but these microfossils were encased in organic compounds that remained surprisingly intact despite the extreme pressures and temperatures of the surrounding rock. While data produced by the Kola drilling project continues to be analyzed, the drilling itself was forced to stop in the early 1990s when unexpectedly high temperatures were encountered. While the temperature gradient conformed to predictions down to a depth of about 10,000 feet, temperatures after this point increased at a higher rate until they reached 180 degrees Celsius, or 356 degrees Fahrenheit, at the bottom of the hole. This was a drastic difference from the expected 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Also unexpected was a decrease in rock density after the first 14,800 feet. Beyond this point the rock had greater porosity and permeability which, paired with the high temperatures, caused the rock to behave more like a plastic than a solid and made drilling near impossible. A repository of the many core samples can be found in the nickel mining town of Zapolyarny, about 10 kilometers south of the hole. For its ambitious mission and its contributions to geology and biology, the Kola superdeep borehole remains one of the most important relics of Soviet-era science. This video will show you more.
We have been shown diagrams about the interior of the Earth all the way to the core. Where does the information come from? How does anyone know what is deep inside the Earth? You have likely seen images like these. Did you ever wonder, how do they know that? Is it a belief or is it a scientific fact? If this model of the Earth's interior is known as fact, we should be able to confirm the model using a scientific experiment. One way to do this is to observe the interior of the Earth. However, no one has ever drilled into the mantle. No one has ever drilled all the way through the crust. So there are no observations of what is under the Earth's crust. The Earth's interior is not observable. Previous geological models have been found to be false through observations and actual data. During a secret Soviet program called the Kola Ultra Deep, drilling into the Earth's crust began in 1970 at the Kola Peninsula. After years of drilling, by 1983, the Soviets managed to drill 12 kilometers deep. But once they reached the 12-kilometer mark, they got stuck. For the next 10 years, they were able to drill only 0.262 additional kilometers into the Earth's crust. They could not get past the 12-kilometer mark. The drilling program suffered accidents and technical setbacks that prevented them from ever reaching their goal. The Kola Ultra Deep program had originally planned to drill 15 kilometers deep, but they quit when they reached 12 kilometers. The drilling program made some scientific discoveries that disproved previous geological models of the Earth's interior. Previously, we were told that the deeper you go into the Earth's crust, the more dense the rock would be and the less porous the rock would be. If the rock is less porous, it means there's less holes in it, less places for water to go. In reality, they found that many kilometers deep, the rocks were cracked and riddled with numerous pores, with water solutions moving freely through the rock. At Kola, they found water all the way down to 12 kilometers, which is the deepest they were able to drill. That supports the claim made in the Holy Bible that there was once a great flood with water covering the entire earth. Some of that water receded enough to expose some land, the land that we live on today. Although a majority of the earth is still covered with water today, some of the flood water might now be underground. Kola confirmed they found water deep underground, so maybe that's where some of the flood water went. The rest of the flood water is still on earth, visible in our oceans, seas, rivers, and lakes, and glaciers, and ice, and snow. The Kola borehole is now closed, but they still have an official website. The official website for Kola Ultra Deep today says, in Russian, translated to English, "We pretty much knew and understood at once how little we still know about the structure of the planet." These people actually drilled the deepest that anyone has ever drilled on the planet. They have the observations, the scientific data to show how the Earth's crust is actually made. And they say that we know little about the structure of the planet. So when you see a diagram like this, ask the question, how do they know that? The Kola borehole remains unsurpassed at 12 kilometers. They had planned on digging to 15 kilometers, but they could never get past 12 kilometers, even after years of trying before they gave up. The troposphere is the layer of the Earth's atmosphere where we live. It reaches an average altitude of 12 kilometers high. It's interesting that the deepest hole ever drilled by man is 12 kilometers deep. There's a pattern of 12s, and there's many more 12s all around us. Please see the video titled Pattern of 12 for an explanation. Another pattern of 12s observed at the Kola Ultra Deep. When they drilled down to 7 kilometers deep, the temperature was measured to be 120 degrees Celsius. 7 is a holy number. At the depth of 7 kilometers, we have 120 degree temperatures. Is this a coincidence that our planet was designed to match a pattern of 12s? Another unexpected discovery made at Kola Ultra Deep. The Earth is made up of layers. It's not a scrambled up mess underground. There are distinct layers of different kinds of rock. To me, it's clear that this Earth was designed. There is a designer for Earth. In 1984, there was a press conference with geologists. One question raised was, what is the most important thing shown at the Kola borehole? The response, Lord, most importantly, it showed that we do not know anything about the continental crust. So how do we know what is inside the Earth? If we don't even know what's in the continental crust, then how can we possibly know what's under the crust? I will remain humble and admit that I don't know what is inside the Earth. I will also remain skeptical of any picture showing the interior of the Earth all the way down to the core, with no scientific evidence to back it up. It's easy to make a picture. It's a lot harder to explain the science. When you see pictures like these, you should ask the question, if you are a true scientist, how do they know that? And why was the Soviet drilling program a secret? The deepest they were able to drill, 12 kilometers. The Kola project reached a depth of 12 kilometers in 1983. 7 years later, they were still stuck at 12 kilometers. It seemed as if the Earth does not want to reveal its secrets. Drilling stopped in 1992. There is a mystery here. Why is man unable to drill deeper than 12 kilometers?